Hi, boys and girls. Happy Monday. So we're just gonna get our week started. Just a reminder, Mondays we learn our essential question, new vocabulary, and then we read our story. Now that you guys have your turn books, I have one here too. Now that you have your turn book, I can assign some work in there just so you can review your vocabulary and practice so that you're ready for our little quiz on Thursday, sorry. But anyways, we'll just get started. So our essential question this week is, what are some reasons people moved west? Now, it says new beginnings. Now, when you say west, you think about how a long time ago people settled on the East Coast. So in states like New York, Massachusetts, and Maine, like all those states on the East Coast, right? And people really didn't start moving like west until when the gold rush was happening, and we learned about that a little bit, and that was maybe one of the reasons that people came over here, right? And there's lots of other reasons too that we'll get to learn during our reading this week, and we'll also explore a little bit during social studies. But yeah, that's our question, and we're really going to be focusing on cause and effect. So right here, I wrote our essential question: what are some reasons people moved west? Now, if we remember, cause is why, right? Why did something happen? And effect is what happened. So if you look at the question that we have, what are some reasons people moved west? Well, what happened is they moved west, right? That was the effect. But we want to know why, and that will be the cause. So this week while we read, just keep that in mind, and we'll just explore that. So let's go over our new vocabulary for this week, and it's here. So the first word is plunging. Plunging. And the sentence they give us is, we watched the dog jump off the rock and go plunging into the lake. So take a minute, take some think time. What do you think plunging means? You can pause. So plunging, here's the definition. When something is plunging, it is falling or moving downward very quickly. So for example, if you had like a rock and you dropped it into, let's say, a tub of water. Rocks are heavy, right? So it would go plunging into the water really quickly. It would fall down to the bottom. Okay? Our next word is prospector. Prospector. So the prospector carefully panned for gold in the river. And we actually learned this word a little bit before when we were starting our gold rush unit. So prospector. A prospector looks for gold, silver, or other minerals in the ground. And the question they ask is, what are some tools that a prospector might use? We saw one in the picture, right? Then our next word is scoffed. Scoffed. Tony's sister scoffed at his dream of being an Olympic athlete. So look at the picture. Look at her emotions, how she's expressing them, and his. And think about what scoffed might mean. To have scoffed at an idea is to have expressed ridicule or contempt towards it. So to ridicule someone means to kind of make fun of them, right? So she's making fun of her brother, Tony's sister. This girl's making fun of him because she doesn't really think that his dream is that he can actually, achieve his dream. She's making fun of him, she's teasing him. Scoffed. Our next word is settlements. Pioneers built many settlements as they moved west. Settlement. And it means a settlement is a place where people live when they first arrive in an area that is new to them. So it's like a small little town that people build. They don't really last that long because people move a lot, but it's just what they build when they first get. Our next word is shrivel. Shrivel. Grapes left in the hot sun will eventually shrivel up and turn into raisins. To shrivel means to shrink, wrinkle, or wither. So, what else will shrivel if it's left outside in the hot sun? Lots of fruits that you see that they dry up, those shrivel, right? Next word is territories. The pioneers were awed by the size of the territories west of the Mississippi. So the territories were, they weren't states yet. So territories were just large, really, really big pieces of land, like bigger than most of the states now. But they were just big pieces of land that weren't claimed yet. So no one really was in charge of them yet. There wasn't really a lot of people there. So that's why people were moving. That's one of the reasons too, is that there were less people and more land, right? So these are territories. And oh, territories are large areas of land where people start living in a region new to them. So just big pieces of land. Topple. The line of dominoes slowly began to topple over. Topple means to collapse or fall. What other things can topple? There's the game Jenga, where you pull out the little block and you have to put it on top. And every time the bottom gets smaller and smaller until it eventually topples over, right? The next word is withered. A whole field of sunflowers withered and died during the drought. Withered. So something that is withered has dried up from heat or lack of moisture. So it says, in what kind of weather might something wither? Or what season? And those are vocabulary words. So keep studying those words. And like I said, I will be assigning some, I'll be assigning some, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, some work from your turn book at the end of this video. And then I'll also put it in today's Google Classroom schedule for you guys to do. That'll be your vocabulary practice. And that's what you'll just have to do, that and a little bit of writing for this story that we're about to read. And then throughout the week, we'll do some more vocabulary practice like we normally do. We usually do a center, but we'll do it here instead on skies, or possibly a game or something. But anyways, so this is our story that goes with this, with these vocabulary words. It's called My Big Brother Johnny Caw. So it's a tall tale, which means that it's not true story, right? It's fiction. And it's not like realistic fiction, right? Because there are a lot of different situations and characters that are not very realistic. So while we're reading this, remember our essential question: what are some reasons people moved west? And we're going to read about the Caw family's journey to settle in Kansas. So we'll get started. My big brother Johnny Caw. I was just a tadpole of a girl when my family decided to leave the crowded city life behind. My daddy said there are territories out west with wide open spaces. The Cobb family needs room to grow. He was mostly talking about my big brother. At 15, Johnny had grown so tall that when he stretched out in bed at night, his head hung out the front door and his feet hung out the back door all the way into the chicken coop where the hens laid eggs between his toes. Mama loaded up the wagon with our belongings and Daddy hitched up the oxen. We began to head west, but it wasn't long until Johnny hollered for everybody to stop. "We'll never get there with these slow pokes pulling us," Johnny scoffed. He unhitched the team and put one ox on each shoulder. "Mind you don't let them topple off," Daddy hollered. "Yes, sir," Johnny said. "Tadpole can keep an eye on 'em." He picked me up and set me on top of his head where I had to hang on to handfuls of Johnny's red hair to keep from falling off. Then Johnny grabbed hold of the hitch and began pulling the wagon. He never did have much sense of direction. He pulled that wagon one way, then the other, faster and faster, digging out the biggest gully you ever saw. The next night a big rain came and filled it up. I hear that now they called that crooked gully the Kaw River. Johnny pulled our wagon to a Kansas settlement where people were trying to figure out how to raise crops. "Problem in these mountains," one settler said. "They're in the way." Johnny said that was no problem. He saw a big cottonwood tree, used a saw to cut it down, and whittled it into a giant scythe. Next, he whacked the mountains off down near the ground, hauled them west and piled them up in a big row. Today, folks call them the Rocky Mountains. Everybody in Kansas was so happy with the nice flat land, they had asked us to stay and homestead with them. We built a sod house and started planting wheat. Now one summer it was mighty dry. All of the wheat had started to shrivel up in the field. Our neighbors came and asked for Johnny's assistance. "My crop has about withered away to nothing," said one neighbor. "Without rain, we're done for." "I've got an idea," said Johnny, looking up at some puffy clouds. He grabbed hold of his big hoe and commenced poking holes in the clouds. Down came the rain in buckets, and the wheat was saved. One morning at the river bank, Mama was plunging our dirty clothes in the water to get them clean, when a prospector rode up. He said he was headed to California to find gold. "Trouble is," he said, "there's not one decent trail between here and there." Mama said, "Let me talk to my son." Johnny was happy to help. For a week he hiked back and forth to all kinds of places, dragging his giant bags of wheat everywhere, clearing trails of trees, brush, and boulders. The Gold Rush folks were tickled to find good, clear paths that they named the Oregon Trail, the Santa Fe Trail, and the Chisholm Trail. I'm sure glad our family ended up in Kansas. Our neighbors tell us that this is a bad place for twisters, but so far we haven't seen one. I can't wait though. Johnny plans to lasso that twister and ride it like a bucking bronco, and he's promised his little sister a ride too. So, pretty short story. Think about what they're asking us here. So talk about why the Kaw family moved to Kansas. So this is the question, these two questions actually. And if you could move somewhere new, where would you go and why? So these are the two questions I'm going to ask you on Skies, and you can answer those. So in the story, they give us a few reasons that not only the Kaw family, but other people were moving west too, right? So I want you to tell me at least one reason why people were moving west in this story. Um, I think that's pretty much it. If for your vocabulary practice, you guys can do page, let me see. Okay, you can do page 211 in your turn book, and it has one of those fill in the blanks for vocabulary just to practice doing that. And if you don't have your turn book, I'll post a picture of this page and then you can just fill in the blanks on on skies. Now, if it's easier for you just to fill in the blank on skies, then you're more than welcome to do that. You don't have to do it in your turn book, but it is nice to have your turn book there in front of you in case the page on skies isn't loaded correctly, or for whatever reason there's, something going on, then you have it available to you to do so. That's pretty much it for today. Thank you guys for joining. Make sure you check out our math link for the math video and to complete all your assignments. If you have any questions, you can message me on Google Classroom or on Skies. Okay, bye.